Today we are preparing for the unthinkable. This is how NASA is tackling the threat of a world-ending asteroid. Yes, I mean we're all thankful for living and breathing on this big old spinning rock we've got, but what happens if another fast spinning rock hits this big spinning rock and then we all fly into different directions? Well, terrible things, I'll let you know, so we're going to try and prevent that from happening. Despite the fact that we would have a world-ending disaster, probably the worst thing of all is losing internet, so yeah, this is going to get pretty scary, people. Lock up those modems. The possibility of a large asteroid colliding with Earth and causing catastrophic consequences is a topic that has captured the imagination of humanity for decades. Whilst the likelihood of such an event occurring in the future is low, the potential consequences are so dire that the United States Space Agency, NASA, takes the threat very seriously. As part of its mission to protect Earth from hazardous cosmic objects, NASA is being actively working on various strategies to prepare for the possibility of the world-ending asteroid impact. As some of you may have seen from a very recent video, the dinosaur one, you know that this can pretty much end all life, so the same thing could happen to us, so this time we're talking about how we stop this thing. The first step in preparing for a world-ending asteroid is detecting and monitoring those cosmic objects in the first place, all the way from the comfort of our own homes. Just don't get too comfortable, as we need to know what to do when we see one coming. Blink, and you might miss it. NASA's Near Earth Object, or NEO program, managed by the Planetary Defense Coordination Office, is responsible for this crucial task. The program uses ground-based telescopes and other observation tools to track and characterize asteroids and comets that could potentially pose a threat to Earth. This sounds incredibly difficult. You are basically scanning the entirety of space in front of you to see if you can see any objects that might pose a threat. Basically studying and watching the trajectory and seeing whether, potentially in the future, this thing might cause a problem. There are many items they have spotted which they are keeping track of to make sure that this doesn't happen. And if they think it is, what they're going to do to try and stop it. Because of course, prevention is better than cure. NASA is also developing advanced technologies to enhance its detection and monitoring capabilities. For instance, the agency is working on the Near Earth Object Surveillance mission, a system which aims to launch a space-based infrared telescope to detect and track smaller asteroids that are difficult to observe from the ground due to their size and location. Additionally, NASA is exploring the use of autonomous spacecraft to rendezvous with and study asteroids up close, providing valuable data for better understanding their properties and trajectory. This is actually quite noteworthy and really advanced, because you'd think that for us to be able to detect these asteroids, it requires something where we have to be able to get up close, and in some of these cases we actually do, so we're taking the steps to make it happen. If it was up to me, I would just shoot a massive laser into space and destroy them before they even got close, but that's just me. And you know what, that probably causes more intended consequences than necessary, but there we are. So yes, perhaps we should take a more careful and measured approach before we just start shooting lasers into space, because who the hell knows what happens when we do that. Once a potential world-ending asteroid is detected, NASA has plans in place to deflect or mitigate that threat. One approach is to use kinetic impactors, which involve crashing a spacecraft into the asteroid at high speeds to change its trajectory. NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test Mission, otherwise known as DART, would be the first demonstration and use of this technique. NASA is also researching other deflection and mitigation strategies, such as gravity tractors, which involve placing a spacecraft near the asteroid to gradually change its path through gravitational attraction, and laser ablation, which involves using highly powered lasers to heat and vaporize the surface of the asteroid, creating a thrust that can alter its trajectory. Yeah, that's more like it. Shoot those lasers into space. Maybe it wasn't such a dumb idea after all. But perhaps NASA can do it with a bit more grace and willing, rather than my idea of just shooting lasers blindly into space for the sheer hell of it. These innovative technologies are being developed and tested through simulation and modelling studies to understand their feasibility and effectiveness in a real-world scenario. But whilst this theoretical understanding might be useful to know, we want to know what happens for realsies. I can imagine it's like a game of Space Invaders, just shooting blindly into space until the threat is no more. However, recognising the threat of a world-ending asteroid is a global concern. NASA collaborates with its international partners to enhance its readiness. For instance, NASA is a founding member of the International Asteroid Warning Network and the Planetary Defense Coordination Office within the United Nations Office for the Outer Space Affairs. That is a lot of words, but basically it means that they all use their collaborative efforts to try and improve coordination and share information amongst nations to be able to detect, monitor and respond to these potential asteroid threats. Basically, we all work together to prevent the world-ending asteroid smashing into our planet and killing us all, which I think is a pretty noble endeavour, if you ask me. Why have one set of eyes on the sky when you can have an entire global network doing the same thing? Share all that information, so when the Earth is perhaps not looking in the right direction, someone else has got your back. So, in conclusion, NASA even themselves admitted that the likelihood of this happening, basically of a world-ending asteroid coming our way, is relatively low. However, it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. So, NASA, amongst other agencies, are looking out to the skies to see if they can spot and prevent the worst of something happening. So, the next time you're sat by yourself and you're daydreaming, maybe have a little bit of think about NASA and give them a nod for their good work of shooting lasers into space wildly, because that sounds pretty badass to me. If you guys enjoyed that video, here's another one just like it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.